Have you taken the red pill? For decades, media, spiritual leaders, and preachers have drilled into us the idea that when we die, we should go toward the light. But what is this light, and why should we blindly follow it? Is it truly a gateway to eternal peace, or is it a trap set by unknown entities?
Is this heaven?
No.
It's time to rethink our beliefs and truly examine the nature of the light and its purpose. Don't be afraid to question everything and uncover the truth. But before we slide deeper down that rabbit hole, if you're a fan of exploring fringe topics, uncovering the nature of things that go bump in the night, or just generally uncovering the secrets of the universe, then you've arrived at the right channel, and we'll be blowing your mind at least once a week. You know what to do. Like and subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our reality-shattering content. Now, let's see what's come across the Enigma Desk.
The views expressed in this video are not necessarily shared by the video's creator. This is meant to be an objective presentation of alternative viewpoints and topics not normally discussed in mainstream society. Do your own research. Do your own soul search.
Fellow truth seekers, since the release of The Matrix, we have been awakened to the possibility that our perception of reality is not what it seems. The words of Morpheus to Neo were more than just popcorn fodder. They were a call to arms, a challenge to question the nature of our existence. So many of us feel a splinter in our minds, a sense that something is not right with the world. We don't know what it is, but we can feel it. The world is coming apart at the seams, and there seems to be no end to the anxieties we have about our society's future. But it's more than just the obvious problems we can see on the surface. There's something fundamentally wrong with the nature of reality itself, something corrupt. We feel a profound sense of emptiness here, and nothing ever seems to fill it. We know deep down we are meant to be full, but we're not sure what's missing. It seems like we should be able to remember. Have you ever felt like the world is not your home? We see things that remind us of where we belong, but we can never fully capture that sense of belonging. As C.S. Lewis called it, we're living in the Shadowlands, a world that is not quite real. We're easily tricked into believing that this is all there is, that this is the only reality. But this is just a simulacrum. This is a false copy of the true reality. The Matrix was more correct than we realize, and the filmmakers behind it were not the first to notice. Many people have died and gone to another place. They have experiences there, talk to beings, and then come back to tell their stories. We call these people near-death experiencers, and they have near-death experiences, or NDEs. Most of these people see a giant light at the end of a tunnel when they die. Their family members show up and coax them to go into the light. The whole thing seems to be an abrupt love fest, very culty, meant to overwhelm your senses and your awareness. What if this light is a trap? What if your soul is free and unencumbered in its original state? And at the moment of your physical body's death, your soul becomes free to go anywhere. But these friendly beings that look like Grandma June show up and manipulate your soul into this giant ball of light. Is this nothing more than the cheese on a mousetrap? And why would Grandma June do this? Because they need your soul for something. Maybe it's their food. Maybe our souls hold some kind of sustenance for dark and discrete powers, but many NDEs report a memory wipe. So they're coaxed into an agreement, agreeing to go back to Earth, into a new body, human or otherwise. But why is there a need for a memory wipe? Is it to keep us ignorant of the truth? In ancient Greek cosmology, Orphism believed that the newly dead were made to drink from the river Leth, or Lethe, which caused them to lose all memory of their mortal life. But there were also those initiated into the teachings of Orphism who were taught to drink from the river Mnemosyne, the waters of memory. And why were some allowed to remember and others not? Think about all the wisdom and all the memories, all the things you loved, gone, erased, wiped from your memory. Your soul returns to Earth in a new form with no recollection of the life it just lived. Because if you remembered your past lives with all their lessons and traumas, you might start to see this world for what it truly is, a prison, or worse, a livestock pen. These dark forces that disguise themselves as your family members, they're highly intelligent beings, and they convince us to go into this light at death because they're using us for sustenance. They know that our souls are immortal and pure in their original state, but by subjecting us to emotional pain, trauma, or even good things like a sense of belonging, we produce energy. This energy some have called LOOSH. You might think of this energy as what other cultures have referred to as chi, prana, or even pneuma, but the term LOOSH comes from Robert Monroe's book, Far Journeys, where he used a technology called hemisync to exit his physical body and traverse other dimensions using his light body, or some might call it his astral body. He used these journeys to acquire information from non-human beings in other realms or dimensions, and on one occasion, he asked for a detailed history of Earth, and was given the story from an objective perspective. It's a long, technical story, but in short, this energy, LOOSH, is a naturally occurring energy. Some describe it as a love radiation. It's found throughout the universe in different forms and potencies. Quoting now from Far Journeys. Someone, somewhere, or both, in millions or unaccountable, requires, likes, needs, values, collects, drinks, eats, or uses as a drug a substance identified as LOOSH. This is a rare substance in some places, and those who possess LOOSH find it vital for whatever it is used for. Faced with this question of supply and demand, someone decided to produce it artificially, so to speak, rather than search for it in its natural form. He decided to build a garden and grow LOOSH. End quote. As you might have guessed, this garden was Earth. Now imagine someone, some higher being, experimenting with Earth's biology and geology until they found the perfect life form for LOOSH production. Us. Humans. That's right. They found that humans produce a pure and potent form of LOOSH, unparalleled by any other source. But the thing that made humans produce this energy was loneliness, among other things. Quoting again from Far Journeys, I've revised some of the technical language to make it a little clearer to understand. Quote, it was standing alone under a leafy upper portion of a large tree. It wasn't hungry. It was not in conflict with another human. It was not acting in defense of its young. Then why did it emanate distilled LOOSH in such great quantity? Someone moved closer. His perception entered into the human unit, and then he knew. The unit was lonely. It was this effect that produced distilled LOOSH. As someone drew back, he noted another unusual inconsistency. The human unit suddenly had become aware of his presence. It had collapsed and was jerking in strange convulsions on the solid base formation. Clear liquid was being expelled from the two radiation-perceiving orifices. With this, the distilled LOOSH emitted became even more pronounced. End quote. Loneliness and fear were key to human LOOSH production, but that wasn't all. Quoting again from Far Journeys. From experience, the collectors have evolved an entire technology with complementary tools for the harvesting of LOOSH from the male human units. The most common have been named love, friendship, family, greed, hate, pain, guilt, disease, pride, ambition, ownership, possession, sacrifice, and on a larger scale, nations, provincialism, wars, famine, religion, machines, freedom, industry, trade, to list a few. LOOSH production is higher than ever before. And again, that's from Robert Monroe's book, Far Journeys, pages 162 through 170. So these so-called collectors have created a world that maximizes human LOOSH production with a ruthless corporate efficiency that would make Walmart blush. They tricked us into coming back to this LOOSH farm with promises of wealth, fame, and a sense of duty to our loved ones or country, but it's all a lie. They just want us to pump out more LOOSH for their bottom line. We cannot be killed, but we can be manipulated. Beginning in the 1st century after Christ, there were radical sects of Christians that believed that the creator of this world was actually an enemy and not our Father. Father God was previously unknown by humans, and the coming of Christ made a way for us to escape to our original home with the source of all things, which they termed the Pleroma. Scholars today call these sects the Gnostics. They also agreed that this place was a trap for souls. They called the creator the Demiurge, or Yaldabaoth, often depicted as a lion-headed serpent. Along with his minions, the Archons, they deceived humans into giving their worship to various archonic entities, harvesting the energy of this worship. like the LOOSH that was described earlier. This idea is radically different from the teachings of mainstream Christianity. In this story, the fruit of the Garden of Eden enlightened Adam and Eve, causing them to turn away from Yaldabaoth as a false god. Yaldabaoth caused the flood upon the earth because of humans' lack of worship. They weren't producing enough LOOSH. He had Christ crucified because he would not promote his kingdom on this earthly plane, but taught, rather, quote, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not from this world." John 18:36. The Gnostic Christians and other prominent Christian thinkers over the last 2,000 years have seen that Jesus Christ provided an escape route. They thought that the work of Christ made a way for other souls to follow him out of this LOOSH farm and back to the true reality, our home. As the Gnostic treatise on resurrection says, quote, "The Savior swallowed death. When he laid aside the perishable world, he exchanged it for an incorruptible eternal realm. He arose and swallowed the visible through the invisible, and thus he granted us the way to our immortality." Some have even posited that the service of Christ and the work that he did while he was alive and his sacrifice on the cross, the ripples it sent through the fabric of our world angered these malevolent beings known as the Archons to such an extent that they reset our world. They hit the reset button on our computer game, casting us into this post-industrial dystopia we all find ourselves living in today. Have you ever heard of the science fiction writer Philip K. Dick? A genius in his field, yes, but what you may not know is that he had multiple profound spiritual experiences throughout his life. He was a Christian, and you could say he achieved Gnosis, the goal of Gnostic Christians, and also the way out of the LOOSH farm. Gnosis, or enlightenment, is when your spiritual eyes are open to the true nature of reality. But he didn't stop there. In the 1970s, he came to the conclusion, after all his spiritual visions and experiences and research that he was doing and all the strange things that were happening around his fiction writing, he came to this conclusion that this world was a false reality, that it was actually 45 AD on the timeline, and reality had been fundamentally altered by a demon and his minions in response to the work of Christ. He turned these revelations into a series of novels called Valis, but make no mistake, this was much more than just fiction for him. Is there more evidence that this reality is just a LOOSH farm? Are we nothing more than cattle being farmed for our energy by a hyperdimensional alien force? Is this reality just a facade, a prison for our souls designed to keep us here, forever trapped? The truth is out there, my friends, and in the next installment in this series, we'll uncover the hidden symbolism in films and television that point to the sinister machinations of the light and LOOSH economy. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please like, subscribe, and follow. You can also follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Odyssey, and Rumble. And if you want me to keep doing these videos, please support me over on Subscribestar, Locals, or Cash App. Links below.